Hello, how you doing? I want to talk about national service and why I think we need to bring something similar back. It's briefly about national service. It ran from 1949 until 1963. It was introduced as a way of continuing conscription, basically after the Second World War, and the idea was obviously let's always have a few more trained fighters ready in case we have to go through that again. It ended because warfare changed, became more modern, guided missiles, stuff like that, the really big bombs, the atom bombs and stuff, and also so you didn't need as many like cannon fodder. But also they came to the realization that when you've just got conscripted men, they're not as good at being soldiers. So they concentrated on having a professional, should have been better paid, professional military fighting force. But anyway, it was only men that were conscripted, which is very sexist. I'm sure the feminists out there are very upset about that. And it was only really military. Anyway, so the reason why I'm going on about it is because I'm extremely worried about the welfare trap. And I call it a welfare trap because I think it should be a safety net, but it isn't. It seems to be something that is, whether you believe it ideologically in a political stance, I do. It's a very socialist sort of movement to try to get a group of people that are always going to vote for you, and you keep them poor and you stop them from expressing themselves and possibly doing really well. I think the concept of having something for nothing is a really bad idea. It's not good for your soul. Working is good for you, in my opinion. But I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. I think at some stage in the future we're heading towards there's different names for it, but something like a universal living wage, because of the continuing progress in labour-saving devices. It does mean that jobs keep disappearing, and eventually, I suppose one argument is that with entrepreneurship there should always be other jobs coming up and people should be flexible. But like sitting here doing this job, 20 years time down the line, I think I wouldn't have a job. I assume that there'll be self-driving cars, and anyone that has a taxi business would not want to pay a taxi driver to do the job. So goodbye taxi drivers, something like that. It'd probably take longer than that. It'd take a whole generation of people to be prepared to let a car drive them without having control. But you see where I'm coming from. But until that happens, or if it ever happens, you got to get people working young. And also the immigration hurts this as well, because I'll go through my working history. 13, I had a paper round. I wasn't ready, I wasn't mature enough, and I got sacked after a few weeks because when I was running late, I just dumped them in a bush. So I got sacked pretty quickly, got found out. But about a year or so later, I got another paper round, and I actually quite enjoyed it. And I realised it was up to me. I had to get on with it. I also, before I left school, I collected trolleys and worked in a supermarket, and I also had another little part-time job in a local garage. And working with adults was one of the best things for like a 16-year-old. It's brilliant for you because it's the first time you really working with adults that are treating you sort of like an adult, rather than just either a teacher or your parents or family. And it's good for you. And you might get to run around a bit and a few crappy little jobs, and you might get sent on some errands like looking for a long wait or something like that. I'm sure everyone's got their own versions of that. The best one I had in the kitchen is I got sent to look for chicken's lips, and I went to look for them. Anyway, where I'm going with this, where am I going? I'll try to make some sense of it. I think there needs to be some sort of, it could be like an apprenticeship scheme, so that upon leaving full-time education, you cannot just go on the welfare. You can't fall into the trap. It's got to be stopped, and we've got to stop it now. So there's a whole new generation of people coming through that will accept it, because if that's what they know is happening, then that's what will happen. So unless you've got a job to go to, if you're going to apply, if you can't find a job, the government will have some sort of work provided scheme for you, and hopefully you learn a trade, a skill, something that makes you very useful, because it's very good for you to be useful. to people. It makes you feel good. People rely on you, and especially if you can do something that lots of other people can't do. So I strongly believe in this, and obviously that would pay. I hope that would pay a bit more than what you'd get in welfare anyway. There is probably a cut-off point. I don't know how high you go up in age of people that have never worked before you just say, got to cut them loose. There's not much you can do for them. They're just going to, those people can carry on getting their welfare for what it's worth until they're gone. Because if you're a supervisor or manager in a business, and suddenly you've got to deal with someone that's, say, 35 years old, has never done a day's work in their life, you're going to have a nightmare, aren't you? So I really don't know, unless you just keep going down the line. Say unless you turn up and pick up the litter or paint that fence, you're not getting your welfare. That might be the way around it. It sounds very, very harsh. Sounds really conservative, and yeah, I in some areas I am conservative. Other areas I still believe in liberal values. I believe that there should be a net there to help people out when they fall upon hard times, just till they get themselves back on their feet and get working again. That's what it should be. That's what it was originally designed for, and that's what it should go back to. Other areas of welfare that clearly is a big problem for me is child benefits, child allowances. Now, I don't believe that it should be possible for mums just to keep having kids, and no matter how many kids they have, they're getting more money in a bigger house. It's cliche, it's the sort of stuff you see in the Daily Mail, but I believe it's a massive problem. And it's nothing to do with anyone's ethnic background, by the way. I'm talking about white girls, I'm talking about brown girls, black girls, whatever. Because what it does, this knowledge that, it doesn't matter if you're with the dad, working together to bring up kids in a better environment. It doesn't matter, you're on your own, you just get more money. And it's the women are like married to the government then, aren't they? Married to the state. And it's really negative. I saw the Reverend Simon Sideways did one a little while ago. I think it was Hungary. They've introduced a scheme to make it to really encourage married couples to stay married and financially beneficial, and I think it's a great idea. Whether or not people have to get married for it, if you're the mum and the dad and you're together and you're raising the kids, then definitely tax breaks. I think to allow one parent, usually the mum, but I don't want to be sexist about it, to have the option to work, to look after me, the main care provider, but have the option to go and work for 15, 20 hours a week tax-free is a good idea. And also with all the money that's being saved on not just paying for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kids, there's a lot of money there that can be ring-fenced to subsidise child care, nurseries and stuff like that. Because someone was telling me the other day they pay over £6 or nearly £7 an hour for childcare, and if they're on the minimum wage, if they're on £10 an hour or less, what's the point of working? So yes, that is definitely where I would go with this. I'm just trying to think if there's any other points I wanted to make. I think we're pretty much done. Yeah, we're done. So it's your thoughts on it, really. I would like to bring back national service, but I don't mean military. Military should be on the table if that's what they want to do, but no welfare for nothing. You've got to work for it, and it will benefit our country greatly, and it will also reduce immigration, because that was the point, sorry, I was going to make earlier. If you go around hotels, restaurants now, there's adult migrants all working their asses off, great people. My fiance is a Polish immigrant, and she works her ass off. But my point is, at some stage you've got to stop this, and those are the jobs for teenagers. That's their work. They should be doing that while they're at university or college or what have you. And that's taking money out of people's kids' hands. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm a fascist Nazi or not. Anyway, see you in the next one. Bye.